Okay,
His
we're
brain
live.
His
We're
snow
live.
shut down.
I gotta take a shit now.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
You know what? If he's going, I'm just gonna go take a pause squat and just see how my body feels.
Yeah, clear them tubes out.
Okay, guys. Honestly,
regroup.
okay, let's just think of this as a long road trip. Has everyone taken a piss or taken a shit?
Well, no.
Yes, mother.
Burger, do you actually need to go?
He's like feeling his body out.
He's like,
Yeah. There is like a little bit of pressure, but I don't think I could actually shit right now. I think we'll be okay.
he's like, push it out.
You realize that
Bear
this
down.
is all going into the episode, right?
Just bear down right now and see how it feels.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm 100% okay with this.
Okay, you're 100% okay with this being in the episode. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
He's like,
You guys are the worst.
I can
Well,
see
we got it. They
it
got
starts coming out.
People.
It starts coming out, and he's like telling the synopsis, like, TLDR, Dune ended. All right, I gotta go.
Be right
Bye."
back.
He gets up, his pants are already off around his ankles.
I don't think we can put that on YouTube.
There's nothing
Yeah,
in
we
there
totally
that
can.
is. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Burger with his pants down.
Well, you just get a very large circle and you just cover that thing out.
Just a little black bar.
Yeah,
No, well, black bar.
that's what I had to do in my last recording with my other one. One of the guys, his girlfriend walked in, like in the background, and she had like a towel on or something. Then all of a sudden, you see, "What, babe?"
Oh man.
So I just put our logo over his camera.
little sweaty plebs logo right on
Yeah,
it.
I just like, and that's it.
That's awesome.
Great. All right.
right,
So,
so breakdown
let's actually, Burger. Do
Burger,
your
let's
thing.
do the breakdown from where we left off and everything.
Okay. Says because it sounds like we're just going. Welcome back, everybody, to
I mean,
Casual Outlaws
they know
podcast.
what they signed up for. Just do it.
No, they don't. It's
Alright.
one episode.
Yeah.
On my
It was
screen,
enough.
it's funny
It was
because in
enough.
all our videos, we all have facial hair, and then there's like Burger's vampire ass, just baby face
Yeah.
on the bottom.
You should grow that mustache back that you had.
No, thank you. Okay, so this is Dune. Basically parts 2 and 3. Although it really only feels like 1 second part.
Howdy, boys
to
and
me.
girls. Welcome back to Casual Outlaws. This is Faulkner.
I'm Andrew.
Fucking hate you guys.
Andy, it's your turn.
We don't have an order.
It's your turn.
We didn't introduce ourselves last time. We only introduced you because you were a new fucking face.
My face is back.
Yes, we can see that.
I know how to read big words. Thanks for having me.
I don't know if that's true because we're all doing the audiobook.
I know how to listen to big words.
There you go.
What are words?
All
Dude,
words are
you're
made
blowing
up.
my mind. Like, what are constructs, man? Let's start there.
What are we getting into? What did I sign up for?
What is reality?
So when we
Okay.
when we last left, our young boy Paul Atreides, he was in the throes of transitioning into adulthood, becoming aware of his prescient sense due to him being the Kwisatz Haderach. And they just survived a big storm. Well, no, did they go into the storm when we left off?
Just
don't
do
believe the
the
storm-
breakdown.
I don't
Known
believe
as
the
a
storm.
hurricane.
Yeah, the storm is not really that important.
They didn't
right.
go into the storm yet.
It was important. They got trapped.
Yeah.
It did.
It's a metaphor, Andy. Metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, the storm starts in part 2, so
Yeah. So they survive a storm. They land their plane. They get in contact with Duncan, Idaho, killer extraordinaire. They go and talk to the planetologist, who, because Paul's increasing attachment progression of his prescience, knows that he's actually like the boss of all Fremen kind of thing going on. He tells Paul and his mother to go to the desert to seek out help from the Fremen. All of a sudden, they're getting attacked while in Kynes' office. They have to flee the office and they go into the desert. They
And
eventually
Duncan, Idaho dies there, right?
Duncan Idaho does die. This is where he
So sad.
yeah.
I was not happy about him dying because it felt like pointless death.
I thought you just weren't happy about him dying because he's being played by Jason Momoa in the movie, and you don't want to see Jason Momoa die.
I mean, Khal Drogo just kind of dies too, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah,
It's
I didn't know he was playing him in the movie, to be honest.
Well, now you do.
But now I do. Spoilers.
Yeah.
What's going on with
spoilers.
Clear Eyes?
And Thanos is playing Thurney.
Why are you killing me
Gurney.
right now? Why are you spoiling everything?
Is
Nate,
it
your
really
mic is
spoilers
muted.
if you can just look at the cast of the movie?
Oops. I muted myself because I was laughing so hard from Chris going, "Oh, gotta get a hit of that prescient sense."
So they flee Lee at Kynes' office. They go into the desert, the deep desert, where they run into Stilgar, who's the main leader of this Fremen band of CH Tabor. This is where Paul will then duel one of the Fremen in order to gain his place within the tribe, basically. They allow Lady Jessica to join, sort of by default, because she has all of the makings of a reverent mother.
And she knows the
Thank you.
weirding way.
She knows this weirding way. She's a fighter herself.
Fucking weird.
Women fighters? Ridiculous.
As ridiculous as it may be, this is an attribute highly valued by our Fremen protagonist. Paul defeats quite easily Jameis, and they have a ceremony. Paul is sort of just being thrown all of these traditions, and we get to see things like how important water is, how this culture mourns their dead, and basically rights of inheritance, from dueling. Like, you keep what you kill. If you're a fan of
Riddick?
the Riddick series, thank you. This whole time, Paul's tripping straight balls off of the spice, seeing visions of the future, where it's like a badass trip, because all he's seeing is him like murdering billions of people all over the galaxy. He's just like, I'm gonna become a god. We're gonna murder everyone.
Well, wasn't he
Bro,
have
coming
you done
down? Wasn't he
DMT?
coming down from that high by the time the whole funeral part is happening? That's when he cries, because his mom said, "How does it feel to be a killer now?"
Yeah, but he's still like, okay, so like spice thing never
it's, like,
truly
still
leaves your
affecting him.
system. Yeah, it's still affecting him, and he's still seeing the time knife fold in upon itself, looking into the future and trying to figure out, how the fuck do I stay alive? And then second part, how do I not let the jihad happen? Because the jihad is where he and the Fremen murder everybody in the universe, basically. And then we get to CH Tabor, and we see a whole bunch of more cultural things. Reverend Mother passes on basically her life's knowledge to the Lady Jessica through a ritual of poison water that they then turn into an orgy drug. Yeah, they turn it into purple drink. They have a big orgy. This then completely fucks up Jessica's kid. That thing is never going to have a normal life because of this.
In a weirding way.
Yeah. Kid's going to have a weirding way of life and not just weirding combat styles. This whole time, Paul's getting down with the juice. He's seeing more and more visions of the future. He's awakening to his powers.
And he's boning Chani.
he is boning Cheney. He gets himself a nice little Fremen honey. He gets 2 Fremen honeys, but he isn't got that
True.
older Fremen honey. He only
Yeah,
wants
but one he
Cheney.
just makes cook for him.
Yeah.
And he gets some adopted kids.
Yep.
Yeah, who will murder people for him. Like, don't
Yeah.
even have to murder people yourself now.
Child
the whole
soldier,
ti-
basically.
Yeah, basically. I mean, Fremens don't hesitate about the child soldier role. This whole time, everybody in CH Tabor is like, "Oh shit, it's Jesus' second coming!" Everybody freak out. And everybody's like whispering around, "Hey, do you think that guy's gonna help us kill a whole bunch of people?" And Paul's like, yeah, I will." Um,
Sure. I was already thinking about it.
yeah, like he knows he wants to kill the Harkonnens. He isn't sure how many other people he wants to kill, and some time passes in CH Tabor. We get to see the Harkonnens be bastards a little bit more, and sort of some separate side stories going on at the same time. We get a time skip. Paul is full on cult leader now. He's
Muad'Dib.
everybody's drinking this Kool-Aid. Yeah, he's Muad'Dib, the Lisan al-Gaib, other titles for him, basically meaning Jesus. Um, he's 2 years have passed, or 2 or 3 years have passed.
Yeah, because he's got a kid that's a couple years old, and also his little sister's a couple years old, right?
Yeah, she's like 2 years old and still fucked up because she never had a chance.
She basically has all this knowledge that like her mother had, and she can speak, and she's like 2 years old. She's like arguing with people. It's
Yeah, she's the smartest person in the room. With
And
with
she
the
knows
exception of the mother and the brother. And she knows it, and that freaks everybody out because toddlers are already scary as it is, let alone if they could tell a good dick joke. Um, so 2 years have passed. Paul has proven himself as being the baddest dude in town. Um, he's got a bunch of death commando squads under his name because when you're the good guy, you have death commandos.
Naturally.
Yeah, he's raiding the Harkonnens, completely fucking their shit up on the planet, which serves them right because they completely fucked his dad's shit up on the planet, as well as a bunch of their men. Um, Eventually, Paul decides to drink the secret spice water all on his own. Um, Cheney pisses off to the South Pole because everybody's fighting and it's not safe for her there. If Jesus has to worry about his wife, he's not going to be able to kill people as good. And then eventually the Emperor shows up, and then the book's basically over. Bunch of people die, and we're going to talk about it from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to see the Baron's nephew pop up again, and I thought it was pretty interesting that we have that other Bene Gesserit, the wife of the Count. What's his name? Count Fenring.
Mm-hmm.
She apparently is talking about how like so we kind of had our hopes in like 2 different lines. So this guy may be who we thought was going to be Kwisatz, and then Paul was the other one, right?
Well, kind of. So they're vaguely related to each other. They know that these noble people that they've been keeping in line have got them good genes, and they need to preserve them in some sense.
Yeah, and they're like the Fenrings are kind of like, yeah, we kind of want to depose the Baron as soon as possible and let this guy kind of go in, but we kind of wish he was also raised by an Atreides because he's got like all the genetic stuff we want, but we don't like this whole Harkonnen personality of his.
He was a
Yeah.
bitch boy.
What was
Well,
that?
he's just
Nate?
he was just
He
a
was a bitch
toxic
boy.
masculinity
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's
he just, like,
conniving and
assumed he was better
conniving.
than everybody else.
Yeah, he was a product of his uncle,
Yeah.
the Baron.
So I want to talk about the fact that I felt this entire book, after the first section, was just like boom, 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 done. Like everything moved so fast that they didn't give enough time to like really
for things to
only
kind of
one
settle.
time in the book did it say like, oh, it has been 2 years. Well, I'm just sitting there going, only 2 years? Like it was an automatic, just like persona change in Paul, just from like the first section to the second section. Like, boom, he's got his powers, and now he's just like the best at them. And like where he was a kid that was just kind of like worried and learning about the people, all of a sudden he's just like, from the second section to the third section, he was just like, I'm in command. I call the fucking shots.
I mean,
like,
he had a Rocky montage moment.
I guess. That's
what happened.
Fucking guess. But it was just like everything moved so fast. I didn't feel like there was enough time to really soak in everything that was happening. And it kind of got a little bit more sporadic to how the chapters jumped around between the characters.
So, going to the movie for a moment here. So the new one coming out. I think it's just somebody mentioned that it was supposed to be, I think, a 2-parter instead of one whole movie.
It's gonna be 2 parts.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's going to be as abrupt as the book was in terms of like movie 2
I hope
starts?
not, because that's where the old one failed. Like the old one jumped around so much without explaining shit that it ruined the old. What was it, like 1984 or whatever?
I think
when they came out, something like that. Yeah, it was a great movie. It was very cool, but it jumped around so much. You didn't like it? I liked it. Bro, fucking
Burger guys' faces at the same time went.
I liked it. I liked it for its cheesy qualities.
So you think that 84 movie should have had a Rocky-like montage explaining and showing all this change?
It just shows
the original,
like between scenes getting hits of spice. Going high on DMT.
just fucking full awakening, like, oh shit.
It's just colors spinning. He's like shooting off into the universe. That's this.
But they gotta do something. Like, from when I read the book years ago and I was younger and naive, and I was just like, fuck yeah, that was so super cool. This kid is like becoming a badass and knows all this cool shit now. Now I read it with a different mindset, and I'm like, dude, they did not take enough time to really grow all the characters, explain everything in detail, do the required character building that really kept me kind of wanting to read.
To kind of defend the book, if I remember correctly, the book wasn't originally a book. It was a series of short stories that kind of came out.
Yeah.
And then they were compiled, and then that's where the book came from. So I think...
Yeah, because even in the audiobook, it explains like book 2, book 3. Now,
so I think maybe that's why it probably didn't translate well into just one whole novel, as opposed to being released in small batches.
Well, I mean, even those small batches, you would just see these large leaps. Like, the pacing doesn't change just because you put everything together.
Yeah, the spacing or the time between each book in the audiobook was fine. But like in section 2, the way section 2 ran about its course, everything felt like it was just so sped up. Especially at the end. Like 1 second they're in the cave talking about this huge attack, and then they blow the wall. And he's giving all these orders like, no, tell them to not use laser guns to cut through the rest. Use their hands because they're shields. And then like, boom, they're in the castle and he's about to fight the fucking Duke's nephew. I'm like, okay.
Fade, whatever the fuck.
No, it's like
battle started and then it was over.
It's tell them not to use laser guns, fucking nuke that wall, my kid's dead.
My kid's fucking dead. like it was just
you're right.
Battle started. Now everyone's in this courtroom and I'm talking shit to the fucking emperor and his girl and the duke's girl over here. Like,
the whole thing where like we can undo the existence of spice, basically.
Yeah. It's like my sister's dead. The sister's now teleported over to wherever the emperor is. She stabs a guy. She tells Mohiam to go fuck herself, and we need one last fight scene. Let's have these two kids duel, and then like boom,
it's over. He killed him.
I think if you look at like part 1, part 2, and part 3, part 2 and 3 is the same length as just all of part 1, right?
Well, it's longer. It's longer.
Well, I also ran into this weird thing where like the second half feels so short, but also all the stuff that like involves Baron Harkonnen and like his son feels
Nephew.
like it doesn't belong. His nephew. Like
That's
it's
true.
it only
It just
exists.
it's like right in the middle for no reason.
Yeah,
like,
and it only
the whole Colosseum when he's fighting the slaves and everything.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Like,
It only
like-
kind of means something later, but then like it also doesn't matter because
So
everybody just kind of dies, and you're just kind of like, okay, I guess. And like the only purpose it really serves is like to act as a foil for Paul, who's like they're trying to make Paul as like a sort of like an ultimate good. It feels like, and the Harkonnens are like an ultimate evil, but. Like,
dude, Paul felt like an ultimate evil at the end. He was just like straight up like, "Yo, I got the spice. I'll destroy it.
And I'll use
kill
nukes.
everybody.
I don't give a shit.
No.
Let's do this.
that's the
It'll
part
still
I'm
kill
concerned
you
with.
though."
That's not the part I'm concerned with. Like, I get it. If he who controls a thing or he can destroy a thing controls it. I got that. The issue is like, oh, okay. So the one guy wants to kill his uncle so he can gain power. Cool, he's a dick. I get it. And then we go to Paul, and it's like, hey, Paul, could you not lead a cult and convince all your followers to go murder a whole bunch of people? You know what I'm talking? I learned this from you, Mom. And then
like murder hobo everything.
yeah, you tell me to do this. Yeah, and he's just like out there murdering people.
Burger, calm down a bit. You're clipping on your audio, man.
I'm sorry.
I like it.
I enjoyed this book less this read through than last time.
Yes.
Honestly, it was kind of rough for me to actually get through parts 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And not just because I did it all in one sitting in a condensed read, but it wasn't really grabbing my attention.
No, not at all. Me neither. I like had to force myself to actually finish the last section of
Do you
the third
think it's because we like read it in parts? Like it feels like, all right, just go listen through it on your own pace. You don't have to stop or
Well, even the first part
like
was kind of it really didn't grab me until like towards the end of the first part.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I thought for a moment there, I thought the first part was too long because like I was like, all right, there's a lot of like exposition. We're getting all these little.
And then you kind of wish
details.
there was more of that in parts 2 and 3.
In part 2 and 3, I'm like,
there was more
man.
build up, and they took more time in the first section, and then 2 and 3 were just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
You know, like at least in the first section, they're going in, and what kept me drawn in the first section was it's explaining their move to this new place. They're meeting all these weird characters and these new people and the ways and everything, and then like book 2, it's like, ha, we shot down your fucking plane. Like, and then from there, it's just like,
Yeah,
crazy.
everything up until we run into Gurney Halleck, I actually really liked because there's like a lot of good lore there. Like,
Yeah, you're right. I
I
did
think
like
Gurney
working
was
with
one of my
Gurney.
favorite characters.
yeah, no, Gurney was cool. Like he's definitely he's definitely like the moral center of the story, I think, because we can't have Paul or Jessica be it. It feels like
I think that's my problem is Paul changes so much so quickly. I actually end up not liking his character. Like at least in book 1, I was like, okay, I can see where I feel like I had like an understanding where they're going with the character, and then by book 3, you're like, this is not what I thought at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's
in the book 1, it's like he has this a true realistic moral agenda for and against him because his father's dead. Now he's got this revenge in his heart and all this stuff, and then he just becomes a dick. Like,
yeah, it's just like
he basically turns into like an unfeeling computer.
Yeah, like if it had more buildup and you could like dive into Paul a little bit better in the second half, maybe I'd have better understanding of his change, but it just accelerates so quickly. I'm like, I get why, but at the same time, like I have no connection to it to like be cool with it.
Yeah, everybody other than Gurney kind of sucks, I think. And after that, like we run into Gurney and he's cool, and he sort of takes
even Chani becomes kind of like a bitch. Like she's like, yeah, I just killed this guy. He wanted to challenge you, so I ended him. It's all good.
Well, no, I mean that's fine. Like it's the way they explain it is cool. It's like, hey, if you wanted to fight, if you think you're good enough to fight the Jesus, you're gonna lose to Jesus's girl, and you're gonna look like a complete bitch.
But it also seemed like she just like surprised him and killed him. It didn't seem like, you know, they went through a ritual fight how the challenge was supposed to.
No, it was a duel. They just explained it so poorly. It was like he wanted to challenge you, and I was like, "I'll fight you instead, bitch. You can't take me. I've been taught by Muad'Dib. Come on, punk." And then he kills the guy, and he's like, "Dude, why did you kill a guy for me? I could have killed him." And that's sort of the questionable part. Is just like, I don't want to kill people. What?
Yeah,
but like,
I liked his sister at the end when she's just like talking to the Baron.
Yeah, she's
just
very.
like,
Oh, and she uses the what's the name of the needle?
Gongjabar.
Yeah, she uses the Ganja bar on the Baron. It's
needle.
like a little prick
She's
on the
Arya.
hand.
she uses it in a sense where it's just like, haha, like, gotcha. just,
Gotcha, bitch.
just straight up. And then like what? Runs? Doesn't she just like run when all the
I don't think she
explosions and
runs.
everything?
She kind of just like stands there and keeps talking shit to the Emperor.
Well, no, she stabs the guy, and then no, because like shit's happening, like an explosion happens or something, or a storm's coming, and chaos ensues. And then after she stabs them, she runs away, and then she goes off stabbing Sardaukar, like eat shit, eat shit, eat shit.
She's just this little
she's
fucking 3-year-old, just
She's
like,
like, yeah, she's a little 2-year-old. She's running around like everyone's like, oh, just get the fuck out of here. All of a sudden,
Just
she
a little-
stabs them.
excuse me, can you help me? I'm in this castle and don't know where. Gotcha.
Yeah, like why is there a baby here? Oh fuck! I've been killed by a baby.
It's kind of
Yeah, I
like
don't
the
know how they're
concept
gonna
of
sell
Chucky. It's just a little fucking tiny
I thought
thing
it
that
was
you
pretty
think is
funny.
completely
I
harmless.
was laughing in my head.
I don't know how they're
when
going to
she
sell that
stabbed
in a
Baron.
movie. They're going to have to age the kid up, right, for the movie.
I think they did it for the '84 movie too.
I
They
think they
aged
should
the kid
age
up.
the kid down. The telekinetic powers have her in a stroller. Push yourself along.
Yeah, I remember liking this book way more.
Yeah,
I kind of, after having gone through the book, I kind of don't see the whole cult following that it has and how everyone's like, oh, it's great sci-fi book. It's like maybe the first part, towards the end of the first part.
Yeah, maybe that has to do with how we kind of like summarize our whole feelings and reflect it on the first part, where it kind of feels separate. I don't know. All the parts that like involve the sandworms and Paul like coming of age, like they're interesting storytelling and the good like in terms of fantasy, like it's good. Like it has a lot of good thoughts society wise, but it's just like, okay, that thing's over, next thing. Okay, that thing's over, next thing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take anything that you learn like from one moment and then have you apply it to a second thing that's happening. It's here's
Everything is separate.
learn this, learn that, learn this other thing also, and by the way, the book's over.
I mean, I think if I were to like read the books completely separate, like if I read the second part or mostly the second part as a completely different, like imagine if it wasn't tied to Dune, it was just a different sci-fi, right? And the second half was its own contained story. That would have been okay because then I don't have the preconceived notions of like who Paul was prior and Duke and all that stuff, right? Like the sci-fi in that is good. It just in the whole context of the story, it just feels disconnected almost for me. Just feels weird.
So back before it was published as a novel and the different smaller stories were published, how much time passed between like before that was completed?
I don't know, I didn't live in the 60s.
I just wonder if you knew. I'm not saying you did, because I'm wondering if like even Frank Herbert was just like, if I don't know how much time passed between each publication, so I'm wondering if maybe that kind of also changed how he was writing.
Over a certain amount of years when he wrote each section.
Did a shit ton of mushrooms for the second half.
Or he just completely forgot what he wrote and he was like, I kind of remember some things. Let me just write this down. Also,
kind of like
the
the
rest
rest
of
we
the
have with Jim
Dune-
Butcher, right? Like
the rest of the Dune franchise, though, was that also being released, similarly to the original Dune? Or did that all come after the novelization?
I mean, the second book takes place exactly after where this first book ends, basically.
Yeah.
And then the third book from there, and then the fourth book is like 3,000 years in the future.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I don't know what happens in the other books or the other stories, so I don't know if they kind of fill in some of the gaps of like how the hell did it come to this part where it's just instead of going boom, boom, boom.
They don't fill in as many gaps per se. Uh, they kind of gain this ability. Like the second and third book have this ability where they can get like DNA memories. So like anybody in their ancestry, they're able to like access their memories up to a certain point. And that sort of becomes this expanded upon power that's kind of interesting. Um, they definitely give like more like lore going on in the background. I think they're interesting. It's the second and third books, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune.
Okay.
It was so many thousand years later, like is able to disconnect itself from its own thing, right?
Gotcha.
Kind of like what Star Wars would do. Just go 1,000 years later.
Yeah, did you notice that in the audiobook? Did anybody not like the fact that every fucking chapter that the Baron was in, he had like a different voice actor? Did anybody notice that?
I did.
Dude, like one time he sounds like a fat, kind of squabbly, scared guy, and then he's like, it's like a black guy's voicing over him. And it's like a complete voice change. He's just
the voice changing was kind of
I didn't really notice it. I thought it was just him like going from like inner monologue to like
well, that was the other thing I thought,
like
that maybe he changes his intonation when he's speaking to other people.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Hold on. So basically, he only has like one main voice for himself the whole time, that sort of dark, grisly voice, and then they have he has himself walking to the duel, right, where he has like his normal person voice, which is like where it changes voice actors and it sounds like a completely different person, and then he like walks under the cone of silence and then it activates and then it goes straight back to that husky voice. So I'm assuming that they're just sort of like different voices between the public persona and him acting in sort
That's
of
what I was thinking.
The
but
official
I didn't like it
as the Baron.
Because he would start talking, I'd be like, wait a minute, who the fuck is this? And then it would say the Baron Harkonnen. I'm like, okay, well, that's fucking weird.
The voices definitely don't belong to each other. So, like, they don't seem like they're the same person between the public and private voice.
Also, since we're speaking of the Baron, is it me or was the Baron gay?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's gay because he gets boys. I wonder if they're...
so I was trying to see if I was misremembering that, but also... in the part 3 when Fade's talking about the princess, I think he mentioned something, she's all you, I have no interest in her kind.
Yeah. It's pretty much exactly what he says. He doesn't care about Irulan or whatever.
And
he kills that young boy in his room too, that Fade tried to poison and send to him or something like that.
Yeah, they put like a birthmark.
They put a barb in his skin.
Yeah, I was trying because I wasn't sure if I was misremembering the thing about the boys, and I wasn't going to go back in the audiobook to listen to it. So I was like, is he saying that she's not his type because he doesn't want a Bene Gesserit, or is he saying that because he prefers boys?
Well, it's both. He doesn't want a Bene Gesserit because they're witches.
Yeah.
But he also prefers little boys, I guess.
That's his little man peach.
They don't actually say. They say the word boys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're implying a specific age thing on it, because it was something where I read it. I'm like, man, if this, depending on how this was phrased, it seems like they're just making the evil character gay, which seems like kind of lazy writing potentially. But
also at the time that it came out back in the 60s.
Yeah, 1964. Like if they're just doing a very lazy thing where evil people are gay and all gay people are pedophiles. That's
what it seemed like they were doing, but I'm not sure.
That's putting a lot on Frank Herbert that I don't necessarily want to put on him. It's just something where I was like, oof, depending on what was happening here, this is a big question mark for me where I would need to ask somebody what's going on.
Okay. So
I got the sense he was gay.
Well, that's not the... Yeah, well, he's... I don't know if he's...
To be honest, I didn't care enough. Like, it was never really something that was in my head.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's gay. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, either way, it said he was gay, and then it was like, boom, next scene.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I was like, am I misremembering it? Did I completely
it's like-
misinterpret this, or am I on the money?
The question that I have is like, isn't that he's gay because they imply that he wants to have sex with men? The question is like, is it just pedophilia that he is, or is it saying that like gay people are pedophiles? I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems weird.
I think they were just trying to build up his persona as a sick individual in general, because he's got to be the evil guy. You know, he's got to be the evil character. He kills
Yeah.
so
Are
many
you-
parents. He kills young people. I don't know. I think they were just rounding
He's
him up
willing
to
to
be this
murder a whole village of whores or whatever.
encompassed evil guy.
Well, yeah, he's down with pretty much genocide, right? Because he's like,
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit about the Fremen. He doesn't mind killing them off.
He just wants the planet for the spice.
Like, oh, so that it brought back to the question I had about like the business cost of the operation they ran, like pulling the Harkonnen out and then putting Atreides and then taking over.
Mhm.
He even says it's going to take them 60 years to make the
replenish.
money back, and the Emperor didn't even pay into it. They did it all out of pocket. So he wanted, like, remember the nephew's like, "What do you want from me?" He was like, "Income." Which
Yeah,
of course
squeeze
made
him.
yeah, but it was like, we spent like 60. It's going to take 60 years just to make everything back, and I'm like, how is that worth it?
You don't understand. They hate real deep.
The break even is ridiculous.
Chris is over here
going
like,
back
the
to-
logistical standpoint doesn't make sense. They should have never evaded.
Doesn't add up. This should have never happened.
This is fucking stupid.
Going back to last episode when we were talking about, is it science or is it witchcraft or magic? When it goes to the whole transmutation part where, they're turning this poison water into an orgy drug, yeah, it sounds like it's magic at this point.
Well, that's the only part that
Or-
really sounds like magic to me.
Or are they all just fucking high and imagining all this crazy shit? But hey, we can still ride these fucking cool ass worms.
Yeah, see, the whole thing with like Shai Hulud and learning to ride taking hold of the worm and like all that kind of stuff, like that's super interesting to me. That's good sci-fi.
Yeah, that's cool.
and it only takes place in like a 20-minute window, then
I
it
know.
goes away.
They barely touch it on it. And they're like,
Yeah.
all right, bye.
And then they like mention
Let's
at the
fuck this
end
magic
too, when,
dragon
like
a little longer.
the emperor like gazes out the window and is like sees them on the backs of the worms, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame.
I think it has cool elements. There's definitely cool lore to explore. I just don't feel
Yeah.
like they did that enough.
I
right?
mean,
so I
the
think
thing
they
about
did okay,
Dune,
right?
the thing about Dune is that it's basically affected everything that's come after. Like
Mhm.
in all kinds of things you see, religious things, that you use in fiction, religious fiction, creature fiction. Like every time I see this, I just get like these very weird 40K vibes. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Warhammer 40,000, but like the Emperor stuff and sort of like this
Mhm.
sort of religious fervor that follows it. Super elite warriors. Genetic modification to create the biggest badasses who've ever lived, that kind of thing. Like, it isn't so much that Dune itself is without reproach. It's more that like Dune affected everything that came after it because it was innovative. Sort of the same way where fantasy was completely revolutionized by Tolkien.
Yeah, when you put it in that context, when you think about the book for its time and what it meant in its time, I can see that, right? Like,
I mean,
we're so used to reading more modern fantasy books that have like taken the genre and pushed the genre, right? And like taken what other people have done and pushed the genre forward. And
I mean,
in that
they even
context, it makes
have
better sense.
like there's a direct reference to it in Star Wars with spice. Like Star Wars has spice mines in Kessel, and they use that spice to make several things, including illicit drugs and medicines. So like
Yeah.
that's good. That's just like lifted right out of
for its
Dune.
time. I think like it has many of the aspects of different genres of books: religious, cult books, magic style books, your true sci-fi space kind of books. It's almost like he added every element to every major construct of sci-fi and put them all together.
I like how you
Which-
said magic style is a genre.
Magic style.
magic style books.
Magic
genre name.
style books.
Any fantasy books we talk about, it's gonna be called magic style books.
I mean,
We're
you
going
could
for
sort
magic
of-
style book this week.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
space, there was like drugs, there was a culty following.
Honestly,
kind of
though,
as- there was religion. Like everything was all in his book, and for his time, like
though, with the exception of like space travel that's mentioned in this book,
Yeah, it's
it
barely-
doesn't really seem like a sci-fi book to me. It seems
Other
more like a
than,
fantasy book.
Yeah, the lasers
Yeah,
and the shield.
fantasy
other than,
adventure,
like the
yeah.
lasers and the thopters and like
Yeah.
the machinery aspect of it.
Which is not really in it that much.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it feels more like a fantasy adventure book.
I think you're missing maybe the forest of the trees because you got to think about like, okay, so Shai Hulud, right? Like, okay, so this thing is like a god. They kind of worship it like a god, and that seems kind of fantasy like, but they have these specialized tools that they use in order to be able to ride on its back. They have the thumpers that they use to sort of imitate non-desert noises that the worm would look into. Like they plan it all out in sort of a very like
They talk about
science.
terraforming quite a bit,
Yeah,
actually, right? They
Talk
about what?
Dune.
terraforming. Like they have the special silica bees that they produce, so that way when sunlight shines on them, it like locks the moisture in, but it'll also dissipate the heat at night, and that's what they're using to terraform. The whole Liet Kynes monologue where he talks about controlling 3% of the planet's water in order to completely change a cycle. His desire to start off with like rough grasslands and then sort of work forward from there. Like all of that is just straight good science fiction storytelling.
But they
and then,
barely touch on it, is the thing.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
they don't
think-
rely heavy on it, right? Like because they're doing so
Yeah.
much characterization. Like they're like really building the characters and not relying on like heavy sci-fi tropes to.
It's
to
just
push
like
the
in
story
the
forward.
background, just
Yeah.
like the
It's
whole
in the background
space thing. They mentioned like, oh, there's these other houses out on other planets, and
Yeah.
at the end,
But
there's these
not
other
only is it-
houses are up in space.
Yeah,
Like
but not
a
only is
living
it
soul.
in the background, but also like they mention it, like everything gets mentioned like one time almost, and then that's it. You never hear about it again.
What I feel like you're missing here is that, like, sure, they only explicitly say it the one time, but all these people in power, Paul, Jessica, the Bene Gesserit witches, the Mentats, you know, they're the ones who have the information. They know the science, and then everything that they do is to control their population, is to use their superstition and religious zealotry in their favor. Like you're using a tool, you're understanding socially how these people are going to work, and then you're turning them you're using that sort of dedicated will that they build up in a religious sense, and then throwing it at your scientific purpose. Like it's
It's always in the background.
the other than magically being able to like remove a carbon molecule from a poison, and that causes a whole catalytic effect that changes it into orgy drug. Like everything else is them
He gave me some of that drug.
executing perfect control over their physical world. Like they aren't doing anything where you couldn't like scientifically recreate what happened.
And
Like-
then
Like
I'm
No,
just
having-
watching the entire time you're going through that little rant. I'm just watching the audio meters just like clip over and over again.
I mean,
Also, your gain level on your microphone is set to like freaking 2:00.
I get what you're saying though, Burger.
Yeah. No, I totally see the sci-fi. It doesn't like I don't
Yep.
think it's not sci-fi because it's
It's
always
just
because
It's always in the back of your
because
mind.
it's
as you're
always
reading.
pushed like as an underlying thing. It's always like it's there, right? Even if it's small, it's small things consistently throughout the storytelling.
yeah, everything that seems fantasy like is just a lever to use to control people.
Mhm.
And everything beneath it is where the science fiction part of it comes in.
I agree. I think it's a good fusion of like it gives you this feeling of fantasy through, but it's still sci-fi. I like that. Whereas like something like Star Wars, right, is like most people would consider that a sci-fi fantasy also.
No, Star Wars is high fantasy. I don't care
yeah,
what
it's
anybody says.
it's purely fantasy. It's just it's set in a futuristic type society
In a
in
well
a galaxy far, far
The
away.
only times where you get really sci-fi is when it like just focuses on like the stormtrooper stuff, like all
Yeah,
the Imperial Army
Stormtroopers.
stuff.
Yeah.
What? The
Like
clone
clone
troopers,
troopers and stuff,
stormtroopers.
yeah.
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 Like that's when you see sort of the sci-fi element of Star Wars. But anything that involves like Jedi or
Or
the
the Force.
Force, like that,
Which
that's all
is
like
secure.
magic
like pretty
stuff.
much
Plot armor.
everything with
The
Star
Force
Wars
is the
because they
biggest
can't
piece
leave
of
it
plot
alone.
armor.
Yeah, I think somebody
Like with
I
the
think somebody
Mandalorian,
told-
I was hoping the Mandalorian would just be like pure Mandalorian stuff, and then all of a sudden, like spoilers for the Mandalorian, but you know, first episode, oh, there's a baby Yoda and he's using the
Yeah.
Force.
Because that sells
wish-
merch.
Yeah, I wish I had a George Lucas impression because what I think happened with the prequels is somebody told George Lucas like, "Oh, hey, those are pretty good fantasy movies that you made," and he's like, "Oh no, I think I made a sci-fi movie. It's in space and there's all that kind of stuff." I was like, "Yeah, but like all the Force stuff is just a bunch of fantasy stuff." And he's like, "Okay, well, fuck you. I'm gonna make midichlorians and make it seem science-like."
Yeah.
Well, let's not get sidetracked. Let's do we have any final thoughts about the book?
I almost wish it was
never
longer.
again.
Here we
I wish it was
does make
longer
you-
and everything could get explained in better detail as the
Okay.
book progressed.
So with that said, does this book make you want to continue reading other Dune books?
No.
Right?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
Because that's where the extra explaining plays
However,
in, right?
I do
Yeah.
want to see the movie when it comes out because I do like the director.
Well, I'm just interested to see how they put it all together on screen. That
Yeah,
Yeah.
Who's directing?
Denis Villeneuve.
I will say, just in a personal
He
standpoint,
did the new Blade Runner. He did Sicario.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 was.
dude, I still haven't seen that.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I haven't seen
That's
that.
fantasy, dude.
But okay,
What?
so I will say, from a personal standpoint, if the movie is directed well and it ends in a we're going to make the next one, I may go back and give the next book a try, just so I can kind of learn what I'm going to expect from
It
the
looks
story.
like this might be one of his pet projects because he's not just directing, but he also wrote and he's producing, and that's the first time he's done all three for a movie.
Well, if they do it good, then it'll give me enough interest to go maybe read the next book or next two books. But as of right now, the way this book ended and the way it progressed after the first section, it didn't catch me. It didn't keep me
Yeah.
interested. Not like
Yeah.
it did when I read it the first time years ago.
I think it just suffers from a pacing issue, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the biggest,
Yeah.
Yep,
biggest part
most
is the
definitely.
pacing.
Yeah,
So,
There was a couple times where I was like, cool, cool, cool. And then they would mention something or something would happen. And I'd have to while listening, think back about like what led up to that in my head.
do you
Because
think
it was so-
maybe?
All over the place.
Nah, never mind. Forget that thought. Never mind.
all right,
Yeah, fuck that thought.
Fuck it.
All right, so
Um,
let's wrap up the review part.
Well,
And
actually, would you recommend this book?
I kind of still would, yeah.
Yeah. If
I
you
would.
if someone's like, hey, what's like a good sci-fi story? I'm not a real big fan of sci-fi, and it's like, I don't know, this one's very approachable. I think if you learn to like the book, like I still like the book. I think it's very interesting and there's a lot going on. It's sort of as a reread, it's like it feels. I've lost a little bit of the mystery in the reread than I did the first
That's
time.
fair.
But like, if you want to look at sort of like the progenitor of modern sci-fi, yeah, go read Dune.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm in the
it's
same
a
boat.
great book.
If you want to
It's a
understand
cool.
any sci-fi reference in the future, read Dune, basically.
I think maybe had I not kind of had a good chunk of it kind of spoiled just by having looked ahead on it and also just speaking with you guys about it, I may have enjoyed it a little bit more. But I think kind of the negativity from the three of you has kind of been pushed onto me, and that's why I'm not that much of a fan of it. I would
Yeah, I
still,
think it's possible.
I'd probably still recommend it just because it has a following for some reason. There's been some television series. There's going to be another movie. There was a previous movie.
Yeah.
Like it clearly has some following. So why not? You might enjoy it. You might not. Give it a chance.
It's approachable. The Dune name is an approachable name and has been for years. You know, for
I think-
anybody looking for a sci-fi.
I think
book.
for Andy's situation, like you're essentially reading half the book and then we're breaking it down and then you
Yeah.
read the other half. Like you're reading a book with a much more critical eye than you probably would have if we just told you to go read the book, like listen
Yeah.
to the book, right? Like you're trying to.
That's what I'm saying. If I had just gone into
it.
it blind and just went through it at a normal pace, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah. I still think it's a
So
good book.
what you're telling people is
Don't
don't
listen
watch
to
our
us.
podcast. Just go read it.
Read the book, then watch.
That's a TLDR. Do a voiceover in the beginning. Just do a TLDR. Like
No. We got to get them to watch the whole thing, and then we ruin it for them. And then we realize we've ruined it for them, and we kind of just poke at them like, haha, we
They're
fucked
just
ya.
like halfway through the book, like those motherfuckers.
Sure.
All right.
So actually, since we've kind of closed on that, we do have to determine who goes next for a choice.
Roll the dice.
Well,
We didn't even set up the dice, so
that's the thing. I can look up a die. The thing
Flip
is,
the
how many
corner.
sides should I do it? Should I do a multiple of 4? Or should I just do a 4-sided die?
I think a D4 will work because there's 4 of us.
I'm just saying we can do
We have
multiples of
a
4
rock,
and then
paper,
kind of
scissors right now. All 4 of us.
no.
2 versus 2, and then 2 versus 2, and then they go.
so we do this over Hearthstone.
All right. Shadow Fiend mid. First
honestly,
kill wins.
I don't have a book.
We actually have to determine numbers here.
Well, I don't have a book to offer up.
Well, we have time. I mean, if you get chosen, then just find something that interests you.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I do have a book to offer up.
Okay, there we go. All right, so you're number 2. Nate, you are number 4. Burger, you'll be
No,
number
I'm 3.
No, you are number 4 because you joined us 4th. Okay, and the winner is 1, so it's me. Burger is not
Really
happy
don't want to
about
read
it.
your suggestion. No.
Burger is not happy about that.
No.
All right, what is it?
It's going to be Iron Druid.
No, it's actually going to be. I'm going to do Magic 2.0 just to fuck with Burger. So the
Chris,
first
have
book
you read
is-
that one?
No.
I'm the only one who's read it.
Is that the one you didn't want to read?
Yes. I did not like the premise.
It is
at
short.
all.
It is short. It's called Off to Be the Wizard.
That's
It's-
not a good title either.
The Wonderful
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz.
This is the most dumb shit idea I've ever heard.
to be a wizard.
Hey, but that's
Okay,
the point.
okay. Are
That
you?
is
Are
the
all
point.
3 of you?
magic style?
No,
Are
let's do
all
it.
3 of you vetoing?
No. Let's do it. The point of this is to read books and have contrasting views and talk
Yes.
about it. So
Okay, so yeah, it's the first book is Off to Be the Wizard. It's by the author Scott Meyer.
This
It
is the
is
most
available on
lesbian book
Audible.
I've ever heard of.
Really? Really?
Really?
Yeah.
No. Kovoth, Kovoth,
Edited.
Koth,
Quoth.
whatever.
Yeah. That In the Name of the Wind sounds like a lesbian empowerment book.
Dude, the book cover is terrible.
For Off to Be the Wizard?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all like an 8-bit.
It's made for children?
It's
Dude, it even has like a pixel art thing just like Ready Player One.
Dude, what the fuck is this?
That's what we're reading, boys.
I love that I won.
This looks like a
Love
fucking
that I
children's
won.
book.
That's what I
Yeah. Hold on. I can make a reroll.
What reading level is this?
I could see he chose it only for him. This wasn't a fair process.
No, it was fair.
Do you want me to reroll?
No.
Do you want me to reroll?
No. We're
No,
reading.
Yes.
Burger
No.
seems like he is significantly angry about this.
No,
That-
let's
that's
read this
fine.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then let's all hate on it.
Or we might end up
Well,
liking it.
Andy over here is just like, oh man, this book was fucking great.
Is this audiobook?
It is an audiobook, yes.
I wanted to read The Blade itself. And this is what we're fucking stuck with.
Maybe you'll win next time.
RNG, bro. RNG.
Well, so you're eliminated next time, right? Like we're
Yes,
gonna
yeah.
develop some kind of order.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Um,
And so we won't have to read a book from you for like the longest fucking time after this.
It's
Only 10 hours. Guys, it's only 10 hours.
That's what I'm telling you. It's a short book.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's
You
very
were the worst
Okay,
salesman of this book when you explained it to
how
us.
long is your stupid Blade book?
22 hours.
Fuck that. Because I was going to say
I'm
if
down.
it
It's
was
the same length as this
short.
book.
I like long books.
No, I was going to say if it was short.
Character building.
If it was short, we could do a 2-part episode where the first part we review one book and the next part we review the other book.
Well, I don't know.
This is fine. This is fine.
Let's just read it. Get it over with.
45 minutes. Put it on
What
one
else
and a
has
half
Scott Mayer
speed.
done? Has he done anything else that's worth reading?
No, I think he's only done that series.
don't know
Every
if I
single
want-
book cover is just this pixel art
Yeah,
nonsense.
It's
Yeah.
a series.
Why are you reading YA fiction, Andy?
Dude, look at
It was
for
it was
book 4.
recommended to me and I tried it out.
And he liked it.
Also, Dresden Files is YA, so
Is it? Is it
I
labeled?
think it's categorized as young adult.
It's a hard line they're trying to follow.
Yeah.
Some gray area. Cool. So we're gonna do Magic 2.0, the first book.
fucking bullshit.
We'll be fine. we won't be doing this in 2 parts. This is a 1 episode book.
The only person who really wanted to do a thing.
I
and
really
didn't
just
get to do the thing.
honestly I chose it to make you angry, Burger.
It's fine. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Let's close
All
it
right.
up.
Any closing remarks? I know Burger's got a lot of shit to say.
Eat shit.
In July
shit.
is Peace
Eat shit.
Talks, so
Yeah, July we have peace talks.
Yep.
we might not even have to roll.
Can we just knock this book out in 1 week
I mean, if you want to
and
skip
come back here next week and do this?
We
How
can.
many- how many hours?
we
is
can
this
do it.
book?
It's
10 hours.
10 hours.
I really want to burn through
let's
this
just
and
do
move on to something else.
Yeah, let's do it. That way
So-
it's fucking. We could just rip that band-aid off.
All right.
All right then. So we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess that's it.
Thanks for letting us
Goodbye,
talk shit
everyone.
about books with you.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is the best part of the episode right now, watching Burger's face.